And we're live. Never know on that countdown. Hello, everybody. Kristen Thomas here for Supconnect. I am lucky every Thursday here in California to get to talk to people around the world about paddling. So if you're here, you hopefully love paddling, or maybe you aspire to be a paddler, or maybe you've been doing it for a long time, like the people we're talking to today. Super early adopters. They have been SUP pioneers in so many ways, and I really think, I don't know if they claim it, but I've seen them in more pictures on social media, in magazines, both online and print, over the last, well over a decade. 2008, I think these guys got started. So, husband and wife team that are SUP yogis, SUP surfers, SUP innovators, SUP foilers and e-foilers, and we're going to talk about all those things too. So welcome everybody. Always fun to see where you guys are from. We've got Macedonia in the house, people from all over the place. Well, today we are going to talk to, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's funny because I've known of them for a long time, never had a chance to meet them in person, but Abraham and Donica Shouse are our guests today from Hawaii, and again, have been involved for so long in stand-up paddling on so many levels and have done just a lot with things. I am waiting to find them. So if you're listening, make sure that you're signed on to Supconnect, the two of you, although they do have quite a few different handles. Let me make sure none of them are here. No, El Chichi, sorry, not you today, but thanks for being here. Let me see if we can find them. I can talk about them without them, but I'd much rather hear their story because I'm sure they're much more interesting. Well, as soon as you guys join, let me know. Maybe wave at me like other people are here. Hi, Tony. Paddle Club. Love the different names. So reminder that though this is live, it does get recorded. It's on Instagram TV right away. And then we put it on a couple of YouTube channels, Supconnects, of course, right away. And then KT, I'm better known as KT. Outside is mine. Joseph, you're such a good, diehard, lonely pitcher. Oh, welcome. Not sure who that is. Let me look again. Ah, there they are. Wonderful. Invite them on because we have lots to talk about because, wow, 13, 14 years in stand-up paddling. There they are. Aloha.
Hey, sorry, I was trying to refresh. I didn't see that.
No problem. We found you. As I was saying, there's so much to talk about with you. I could talk about you, but it's so much more fun to meet you in person. I don't think I ever have face to face.
There face to face. I've seen a couple of your interviews before. You always have a great crowd and great passion.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Lucky Supconnect lets me do this, and they have a great following. So it's fun. We get people from all over the world and all different types of paddlers who enjoy it in different ways. And you are good examples of two. You're professional paddle surfers, but you enjoy it in so many different ways. So let's just back up. And what's your water story? Did you surf, I assume, maybe before you found stand-up? How'd you find stand-up?
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess, stand-up might have found us. It was one of those things where as longboarders, both Donica and myself, we actually kind of had it fall into our laps. Actually, we've been out surfing so many times, and I remember the first day I saw a guy paddle around the point, and he kind of paddled from like no man's land where nobody would ever be on a surfboard. Came cruising around on what looked like a ship, and he was standing, looked a little tippy, but he was doing it, and paddled right over to the surf spot. And right away, I just remember thinking, "Oh my God, this changes everything." It was a huge moment for me, and I don't believe Donica was out that day, but I was out with a good friend of mine. He was on a maybe fun board. Right away, I thought to myself, this now. I thought I had it going on. I had my triple stringer longboard, and I was catching all the waves. And then I saw this guy paddle over, and he just made it look like it was too easy. And right away, I kind of knew, like, okay, now I'm in for it. And I have to re-up my whole gear. I need to get invested with all this extra stuff that I didn't have, you know. So honestly, I was a little bit bummed.
Oh, but you do really, what a visionary that you spotted that right away. Because, you know, some people are not that way in surfing and, you know, didn't see it right away, but you saw quite a few different things in the potential for stand-up right off the bat. But sorry you had to buy new gear. Yes, that's
the hardest thing, right? It's like, now we got to invest in all this new stuff. And
Yeah.
right away, Abraham was like, so excited to get us going. He's like, I will put your board in the water for you. I will carry it to the beach, like whatever it takes. Let's make this happen. Because a lot of our coastline is rocky. And so getting in and out is the hardest part. And he was super adamant to just double carry everything and get us set up, get us going, which, you know, after that initial push, it does take a lot more strength to deal with that bigger gear, but that translates to having more strength in the water, right? So you've got the paddle, and so all of a sudden you're moving so much faster, you've got that higher vantage point, so it really accelerated our surfing. I mean, he was already like one of the best surfers out there, always,
Well,
but yeah, it definitely helped me. And
yeah. I kind of do remember some times where she was over it. She's like, I don't want to deal with all of that. You know, it was such a cumbersome board, and, you know, then the paddle. And we always like to wear a hat, you know, for sun protection. And so all of a sudden you have all this stuff going on that you're not really familiar with. And, you know, as anything goes that's new, it takes a minute to, you know, kind of get comfortable and find a way to, you know, be comfortable, because that's what it's all about. Like, you know, for anybody getting into it, it's just, I always tell people my lesson. I'm like, look, it doesn't matter how I do it, doesn't matter how they do it or how you think you should do it. Just remember to, like, be comfortable, like, shake it out, and just, when you're comfortable, like, you're gonna have more fun. And so
wiggle your toes, right? Because at
yeah.
first you're like eagle claw on the thing, like.
Yeah, so.
Day one, I saw the pad and I was like, oh my God, it's a yoga mat. Like, they put it on the board already. And I was already a huge fan of Yoga for Surfers from Peggy Hall. And so I immediately was doing sun salutations and stretching out on the board. And so it's just opened up so much possibility.
I love that you saw those things so early. Now, I know you're in Hawaii, but I actually don't know where you are in Hawaii. And you have such a good point. I mean, it's still, all your advice is excellent for anyone even now, but you guys had super heavy equipment. Those boards in, was it 2008? Somebody's asking me, or 2007 maybe?
It was 2008. It was, because we were married in 2009. We had the paddle boards.
Pretty much, right away of 2008. I think it was the end of it, 2007, we saw the guy paddle around. And actually, going back to that real quick, he asked me if I wanted to try it, and I said, no way. I was like, that's going to ruin me. I'm going to be like, I'm not going to like my longboard if that's, you know. So I just took a little bit of time, and it was like, not the right time for me yet. And then I met, actually, this legend, Laleo Kinimaka, and then that just, like, catapulted everything for us. So we were immersed heavily in it kind of right away, and it was basically SUP everything. I mean, we even right away we were putting stand-up paddles on our skateboards, you know. So we were in the streets, like, dragging old busted paddles, and it was kind of cool. You could, like, carve down the road and leave a trail of, like, wood dust, you know, kind of like a marker, or like a little bit of chalk or something. And it right away was just like, this is the future for everybody. Needs to try this. I was like, I can get my mom, 'cause you know how it is, like, older people, they might not want to lay on their belly and, like, try to do exercise, you know, and they get to your feet, like, once you're on. So it just made so much sense. It was like, this is the only way to really travel around on the water for me. So I made her come along with me. I'm like, I'm going to carry your board. I'm going to put it in the water. It's going to be super easy. All you got to do is just get out there. And, you know, we had, like, cameras back then too. We were kind of pushing the envelope before like there was much for GoPro, and it was really fun to just really be out there in the beginning, be like, this is what we love to do, like, you know, shared it with people, and I guess that kind of helped create a little bit of a following, and I guess we've kind of inspired some people around the world. So it's been really cool to see the sport grow and what it's enabled for us.
Yeah, you sure have. I don't know if you heard the very beginning of my introduction. I really think I have seen you two, or separately and together, in more pictures on social media, in the media, print and online, than anybody else, because you have been from when I first was looking at it in 08, 09. I hadn't tried it yet. I had the same experience. Somebody offered it to me. And, you know, I was just longboarding at San Onofre, and somebody came by, a husband and wife. We did try it. A bunch of us, you know, traded it off and jumped on. But it took me a while to get one because there was yeah.
It was a big cost. And well, and then the thing here was there was none for sale. I think the very first one we ever saw for sale was a Hyper Nalu, which I think is the company here on the Big Island. So that's where we are on the island. And it was kind of like a huge investment. People buy a car or they buy a paddleboard at the time. Like, I think we're going to put everything we have into paddleboarding. As much as it might not go anywhere, at least we're having the most fun.
Right? So we did buy our first paddle boards. We got them used from Laleo.
Yep.
And
which actually was an awesome paddle surf
yeah.
Hawaii. I think to this day, like the paddle surf Hawaii boards, they're innovative shapes. Brian, what was his name? Blaine Chambers. Super innovative. It gave us such a great platform to pick up big way.
Yeah. And since
we put together surf resumes, right? And then we just sent them out, and
that was cool.
Got a lot of attention from that. We got a lot of companies support, and yeah, that was a really fun time for us.
Yeah, it was like let's just say that we're gonna be professional stand-up paddleboarders. Like it wasn't really much of a thing, I guess.
I remember giggling and thinking, like, I think you have to be 13 for that.
Yeah.
We're in our 20s already. So. Yeah, that was funny. And such a powerful visionary.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, you guys have made it happen. And way from the beginning, besides, I hadn't heard, that's awesome that you just put it out there. And I know you've worked with a lot of companies, still supported by companies like Starboard, I think you've been with for a while. But you make your own, and you have changed through the years, and we'll definitely get to your newest company. But you started with paddles that you created yourself?
Yeah. So, I mean, we had, let's see. So like kind of right away, I was working with Laleo. Actually, the story goes, I wanted to just buy a paddle, and I need your Cadillac of paddles. I want something super awesome. And I was all about wood paddles because, you know, I had background in wood building and huge passion. I always had dreamed of like building a wood surfboard. Even back in high school, I was like, this is going to be my project. But again, the cost of building a wood surfboard at the time was unrealistic. So here I was in Laleo's shop and just hoping to buy a paddle. And I could tell you it was kind of like busy at the time and a little bit of a mess. I was like, "Did you need me to like sweep or like, dude, like I have some time right now." I was kind of in between jobs. And I get like thinking about it. It was so exciting. He's like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I'm like, "I'm coming here, I guess." Like what? And you know, I was like scraping glue off the clamps right away, like sweeping up some stuff. And then, I mean, it was like a matter of minutes. He was like, "All right, here, cut this paddle out." And I was like, "Really? You want me to like cut?" Like, and so right away, it was like, he gave me this opportunity that was just incredible for me. I was like, this is a dream come true. Everything I've ever wanted to like be a part of, you know, creating a tool. Cause I had a lot of woodworking experience, like help build these super high-end homes with the, you know, curved staircases and the mantles and all that fancy woodwork and whatnot. And I never really got to enjoy it. And I never got to really see other people enjoy it. You know, it was like finish a house and then I was gone. So this really gave me this sense of like purpose, and it was a tool, you know, it was something that I got to use for myself and see my wife use. And And actually, that was the first, before I built anybody a paddle, I built Donica a paddle, which she still has. It's pretty awesome. And
yeah, it had the signature heart shape.
Aw.
Loved it. Oh my goodness. And he's made me 20 since then, probably.
yeah, she did. There's a pile of them everywhere. They're all awesome.
Such works of art. Just really, really beautiful paddles. And he was making the long skateboards. He started making the traditional Hawaiian surfboard, the alaia, and then he innovated that. He was making them hollow, adding a leaf plug so that I was comfortable taking it out. And yeah, amazing. Yeah, out of Hawaii. We had a wood shop in Kona for a decade or more.
Oh, love that. Well,
It was.
I'm
Fiscally.
not sure who named you, but I love that Mer-Gyver, like MacGyver, but the mermaid, the water side of it. Donica, did you name him that?
That.
Yeah, Donica came with that.
He's innovating things. I mean, seriously, I take him home to meet my parents, and he's fixing the door so that it shuts properly, or the drawers pull out correct, or my friends come and meet us at the beach, and he's fixing something on their car. It's not limited to just us and our immediate surroundings, but he's always looking to improve the quality of life for the people around him. It's really admirable.
I love that. That's amazing. So over time, besides that great experience at the beginning, you've worked with quite a few other companies and made different things. It sounds like paddles, skateboards, boards. We can do a little back and forth, but what you're working on right now is pretty darn exciting. I have not yet tried foiling, but I understand e-foiling is the place to start, right?
Oh my god, it is. I have the perfect transition for that. And it was so funny. It was back in 2016 when we had the first pre-orders for Gofoil's slow speed surf hydrofoil, and Abraham had sampled it with Zane Schweitzer over on Maui, and so we put our pre-orders in, but it took probably 6 months before they got here, and every single day he was like, do you think they'll come? Today going to be our foil day? And
Every day.
yeah, so but it got to the point where I was like, honey, like we don't know. It's gonna be a little while. Like I had to bend the effort. I was like, let's just not talk about foils until they get here. And then still it was coming up like every single day. So I was like, you know what? Maybe you should build one just until they get here, just so that you can stop talking about it.
Yeah, I was like, hold the phone. Like you literally are giving me the go ahead to just drop everything, business aside, and just experiment. Like I don't really understand too much about it, but I remember seeing Zane's, and I thought maybe if I just Google it, I can like got it. And that's the beauty of the internet nowadays, honestly. Like, I mean, it's come a long ways. But the reality that there's so much. I mean, there's definitely junk to sort through, but and the dedication to really sort through anything on the internet, like you can literally learn about just about anything. It's incredible. So yeah, right away it's like we're building a hydrofoil.
24 hours. He comes home and he's got this wooden hydrofoil that he's pieced together from a balance board and maybe a paddle shaft.
Yeah,
it was
cracked paddle
pieces
shaft
that were laying around his wood shop. And he's got this beautiful wooden foil, and we're paddling out at the harbor, and it works. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I guess it was about, so from the time she said that to the timestamp on our GoPro video, I pulled an all-nighter at the shop. I literally could not sleep. And within 24 hours, we had a video that I was able to send to Starboard. I was like, look, guys, I just like kind of threw this thing together. I mean, it was like just screwed together. I didn't even like really coat it with much other than like just an instant little sealant, and it was like, it's not made to last, but I was like, you can see in this video, like this thing actually works. Like we are flying over the ocean, going super fast on these tiny little waves. It was pretty awesome. Actually, it was a Garrett McNamara board. couple of his boards when we left Oahu from Stand Up World Tour, and one of them was broken. So I was like, this broken piece of stone, then I don't have to feel bad if this doesn't work. So I like glued it back together. I threw in like a wooden tuttle box and just kind of rigged it up like as quick as I could. And yeah, that was pretty exciting. Sent that to Starboard and just telling Sven, I was like, this is the future. I was like, you know, you see Zane doing it, like Connor was already going strong. And, you know, everybody had seen the video of Kyle Lenny, and it was just like, I'm going to second the notion. This is the absolute future of surfing for the vast majority of people. Like, and, you know, honestly, it was tricky. Like, Donica did it right away, and she was foiling. But it was one of those things where it was like, we were so passionate about it, and we knew that it was like this great sensation. Like, we instantly had this connection with it and thought, we need to share this with the world. We need everybody to really experience hydrofoiling. And then it was like, you know, honestly, it's a little tough. It's like a little dangerous, but also it's somewhat tough. And it was like, ding, light bulb. If we give people electricity and we can motor them or let them motor themselves, I was like, easy. I was like, now we can get everybody doing it. And so that's kind of how that like transitioned for us. Pretty much instantly right away, it was like, all right, motorized. Now we're getting everybody. I wanted to get grandmother, my mom's, you know, auntie, uncle, and right away it was, how can I do that? Boom, back to the internet.
Right? Which is funny because the people who do the best on the electric hydrofoil have very little surf experience.
Really?
No, and that way they don't already know what to do, right? Because foiling is front weighted, surfing's back weighted. So if you've got memory telling you what to do, then you struggle. But the people who can sit there zen, the yoga teachers, they do amazing. Like, just don't react, right? Because as soon as it lifts up, you're on this sort of balance that is, very, very responsive. But you can just relax into it, and it's just the easiest thing.
And flow and not overreact. How interesting. I wonder, have you done any whitewater? Because there's a whole different thing where surfers react kind of the wrong way when you're trying to cross like oncoming whitewater. You have to weight it a different way than you do when you're surfing. So that's very interesting. It's a similar analogy, and I didn't realize it was front weighted, but that makes a lot of sense. And we have such muscle memory that somebody who's new and can not overreact could do well on it. Great to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just up on the river, we've done a little bit of that, and you're right, it is tricky. Like, as a surfer, you're thinking, oh, shred the lip, and in reality, yeah, it's like, no, that's gonna tip it off. Like, so there's that interesting dynamic there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
go ahead, sorry.
Just for all of us, sorry, I know we're cutting each other. I cut you out when I talk, but for all of us who love the water, isn't that one of the beauties of water, that it's always changing and that it does react so differently in different places, and never a dull moment, right? Surfing or, you know, wind and water in Hawaii are epic.
Oh yeah, and then, you know, the ever coveted swim break is always fun anyhow too. So like, call it a wipeout, call it a swim break, whatever. But yeah, that's the greatest part about it, right? Going down is fun and necessary. Sometimes you get hot, so
You gotta cool out.
Well, cool. We are so lucky to have had you guys, because the passion that I just hear, even now, that's so cool that, you know, you've done it for a while. And some people have asked me, like, aren't you tired of stand-up? I'm like, no, that's endless kind of where you can go, what you can do with it. And you guys have been right on the cutting edge. And I'm so glad you stuck with it, even though, like, I remember that first board, it took two people to carry it and there wasn't even a handle in it. And it was a lot of work. So I'm so glad you've done that, and you've used what you learned and what you love, and are getting people engaged with this. I haven't tried it yet. I think is that Ryan from Earth Technologies just said he tried it.
maybe electric hydrofoiling, I think. I'm not
Yep.
sure.
And it does sound like that's really a great place to either just go or to start. And a lot of people don't live on the coast and don't have waves, and so they can't foil surf. But this is something they can do on lakes and things, right?
Yeah, it is. I definitely would say anybody should try hydrofoiling. However, in our experiences, we've done a lot of clinics around the world. I spent a lot of time in Maui with Maui Sports Adventures, one of our absolute favorite clinics on Maui with Schweitzer Ohana. And, we had success. Like it was really fun. But in my mind, I always thought like there's quite a bit of risk. For one, you have the wave, which sometimes people aren't the best surfers, so they don't really understand, the timing of waves and how to position themselves. But then you have, this foil, which is generally something people forget about. When you ride your fins on a surfboard or a sup, you're not really thinking about those touching the water. You're not really having those go through your mind. You're thinking about the board and how it's interacting with the water. And so one thing I think that happens in foiling is people tend to translate that to their surfing of being on a foil board. And in my opinion, I think it kind of be the other way around, where people forget about the board. And that's like the least of your concerns. And I tell people I think you should be foil aware. And what that means is only really think about that foil. Like try to envision where those are, being the most dangerous part of the entire setup, constantly thinking where are those in relation to the surface of the water? Because as like they don't really work out of water too good. Yeah. So throughout your transition of surfing to foiling, as it comes up, really taking the time to think, where is my wing and where am I in relation to it? And I think coming from a surfing background, anytime it gets sketchy, the first reaction is like, oh, my board's tipping over, shove it away, like push it away. And as soon as you do that, well, then you expose the foil and then you're going to land on it. And so that's where I think foil aware and really being conscious to where your wing is can really help with that. And so throughout that journey of doing clinics and teaching people, it was just really evident, like even behind a boat, like you would be pulled by a rope and, generally the rope was pulling you down, or maybe the boat was on the ocean, which, adjusts speed. Like you can't really go the same speed on the ocean without it, at least in our ocean, because it's so choppy and rough. So it was really a big challenge, to hugely be successful, in my opinion. Like I thought we were successful. Our clients were always really stoked and they thought they were doing great. But the reality was, like, look, coming from where I'm at with foiling, like I'm used to, like, I always had my surf watch going and I would clock, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes of straight foiling, which, I mean, that's pretty huge considering no motor. And we had, basically our first real foils that we had were the Kai foil from Gofoil, which, as you know, like that foil is like kind of hard to surf like extended periods of time, especially if there's like really small waves. And so right away it was like, how can we get this to where it's a little longer of a ride? And it was just super evident, we need batteries, we need motors. It's made it so easy because now we have, the power is underneath your foil. And so, with the weight forward, it's maybe it takes a minute to get used to it. But what's interesting is the hardest part for people on electric foil is the remote. Like they have to, really slow down and think about, like, you have a live gas pedal. When you jump in a car, you don't just stomp on the gas and you don't, like, you feather it, right? And so there's that little bit of learning curve, and that happens in about 2 to 5 minutes. And then once that happens, you'd be surprised. Like full success across the board, all around the world. Everybody we've ever had jump on electric foil has been absolutely amazing. And they're clocking easily 15 to 30 minutes. I mean, we're going an hour plus. So generally, half of that or more people are in flight. So that to us has been just the most rewarding thing ever. Like I feel like that's been my life's best to not only share that, but really enable it. And that's why we work so hard doing it.
Oh, I just love that. And thank you. I mean, you've already given us quite a few good tips. I was going to ask you for like top 3 tips in learning how to e-foil. Being aware of the foil, you've already said, and that is so important. I mean, I have my surf scar and it's not even from a foil, it's just from the board, but that definitely surfing at San Onofre where people are learning how to foil for the last couple of years has definitely been something. We are aware of other people's foils and where they are, and watching, the first people who were starting were already just such good surfers and really took to it quickly. But then the first Christmas they were available, there was a whole bunch of people who love the new thing, buy the new thing, but don't necessarily have the skill. But that doesn't matter. They were having fun, but just steering a little bit clear until they felt or it looked like they had it under control. But what are some other tips for how does someone get started doing this? I mean, you guys, I think, have everybody fired up who has tried it. Watching the trigger speed, you said, is one of the challenges.
In my opinion, like kind of the most important thing with foiling, whether you be with motor or without, is a leash. Like it sounds like you're kind of nerdy or like, oh, like I'm a pro. Doesn't matter. Like even I don't want to say names, but even the best person in the world loses their board. We know from experience. We've had some pretty fun shit out in the ocean. Surprisingly, we just this one time in particular used our hydrofoil board as our like camera gear platform, and we swim out with the dolphins, and we were like, oh, let's just interact with the dolphins out. I think Sarah Lee joined. She might remember, had some fun times out with the dolphins. And there's times with the foil that we just didn't have the time to like disconnect it from the board, so we're like, oh, we'll just leave it on the board. And so we're swimming around, and next thing you know, we turn around and we're like, whoa, our board is like gone. And the reality is, like, foils are so efficient at collecting the energy in the ocean that they naturally will move your board right through the sea. So whether or not you're out in actual waves or wind, the reality is, like, these things boogie, they get down. And so we've early on come to find, like, not only for the safety of ourselves, but for the safety of other people around us, like, the proper leash is ideal. And there's definitely been some, concern about leashes because a lot of times you have your regular leash, your shortboard leash. So there is a proper leash foil, but we found that you just can't go out without a leash. Like there's especially if there's anybody around. Like there's no point in like putting yourself at risk. I mean, if you lost your board and had to swim, that could be super unfortunate. Let alone if it hits somebody, which we've known several people to be struck by other people's foils. So, these things they're a little bit like gold machetes out in the ocean. It's a very serious thing. But light one, they move fast. So we're huge advocates for leashes save lives, but they also save blood, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got some communication headsets because your positioning is so important. And so there's a key on our deck pad, and it'll tell you exactly where to put your feet, and it's within inches for everybody. And so having somebody who's experienced who can help you with your placement, and it really should be mandatory to get familiar with the foil outside of the surf zone, right? Because it's taking them around anybody. There should be full
I think we need you two to go on an international tour because I haven't heard of that many people giving lessons, and I think it'd be so smart to be getting all of this advice that you're sharing now and to have someone coaching you through, an early attempts.
Yeah, I think that is kind of the plan. Once we get, our manufacturing sorted here, we're getting everything set up, and this is the guy right here to teach the world. He's absolutely reinventing the way the hydrofoil interacts with the surface. To see him turn, there's just nothing in the world like that right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like you start foiling and everybody realizes like, well, if you come near the surface, sudden death, like game over, right? Cavitate. You'll see like all the time, you see photos of people, as soon as they get their wing like near the surface, it cavitates. And a lot of them don't even need to come out of the water to cavitate. They just get near it, and the way it disrupts the surface will cause all this cavitation to pull across the wing, and then just so, coming from a powerful surfing background where our mission was to displaced water. Like we want to rough up the ocean. We want to like slay waves and just throw spray. Foiling came out and it was like, all right, this is super fun. But honestly, all these photos and videos, it's boring as heck. I'm like, this thing, like, where's the disruption? It's so silent. There's no trail of whitewash. It's like, where, you know, where is this going? And had spent, you know, so much time riding the surface of the water. I thought, man, we need to make these foils like actually be more of a multi-medium wing. Like this foil is designed to work underwater. Well, who says that it has to only work underwater? And yeah, we've been able to push the envelope. We have some new stuff now that's enabled not only ourselves but other people to legitimately ride the surface. So now we're like hydroplaning, actually like full on out of the water sliding. So imagine like a skimboard going down the waves.
Yeah.
It's a little wacky, but it works. And guys are surfing giant waves doing it. And so the main goal in creating that was, well, for one, safety. Like I was sick of wiping out. I was sick of like, well, in my opinion, like the coolest thing I can do on a foil is high mast it, like go full mast, like to go as high as I can. As you know, there's more risk involved because then you're probably going to come out of water and breach. And that to me was like the ultimate. And so I like to do that all the time. And now it's funny, my entire ride consists of throwing spray. Like I constantly am at the surface and riding the surface, disrupting the water. And I believe that that's kind of like the future of foiling, is more and more people are going to get into it, and the people that are into it. And I think it's heavily catching on. Like even recently, we've seen some pictures from some of the other various companies out there, as well as the magazines. And it's pretty obvious, like it's kind of what people want to see, honestly. I think is like, let's see water getting thrown across the world by foils. So we've been really pushing our wing and our development to be able to enable this multi-medium platform that we can now basically easily ride the surface, which also, you know, from a beginner perspective, just makes it easier. It literally gives you more room for error, right? Because we are going to overfoil and just come up too high at some point. So to now have just a safety net of sort, right? We have the ability to not have so that has really opened up my vision and my idea of where this sport can go. We really believe, and you know, recently spent some time over on Maui with the slicers this past weekend, and we have them set up with some Gofoils. They have a school now in operation with the electric hydrofoil, so people can go over there and experience it. But even I think it was yesterday, we received a photo from Maddie that he took a Zane and he's just blasted the water, and it's the reality is like that is the coolest thing I've seen somebody do with our foil, and I'm really excited to see, you know, how that's going to grow and how that's going to change things. But already, like I said, I mean, it's catching on. People and companies are starting to realize, like, if you can get your tips out and blast the surface, like, pretty ultimate. So,
Oh my gosh, so interesting. I didn't know any of this. And you guys are really on the cutting edge. I'm sorry we can't share pictures here, but we do have a Facebook group. I don't know if you can hear me.
yeah,
I know it's a little bit, but we can pay, like you sent me that one video, if it's okay to share, and some great photos of you guys on your new boards. I do want to talk about the sustainability side of it. I'd love to hear, sounds like you live your lives that way, and your equipment that you're innovating has also been really in that direction.
yeah. You know, that's been at the forefront of everything for us since the early days. You know, we've been really conscious with, I mean, everything down to our intake, to our waste, honestly, like things that we have as trash, or what we buy becomes trash, and the impact of that, how that, you know, is basically what we accumulate and amount to, I guess. And
Trying to reduce the carbon footprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
here was that we had a TV show called Swell Living not like the public television.
2008 when we started that.
2008.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah.
Sup came, like, all right. And so we had this little like TV show thing we were doing. It was just like a voluntary thing, but Donica had taken some classes on the video production. She got to use all the big equipment, giant camera. The emphasis of it was well lit. It was all about being, I guess what nowadays being eco-friendly and just doing your part to reduce and to really do our best to make these choices throughout every day. Like how are we going to help our bodies to be healthy and also the longevity of things, right? We think about like our children's children and the future generations, and I don't feel good about leaving a mess for those. And so it's pretty like let's do our part. And that's how even Paddle Hawaii was founded. It was all wood. Like I was super proud at the time to be like, no fiberglass in my shop whatsoever. Not only for the health of myself, like I didn't want to be breathing in or getting all itchy from that stuff, but I just was trying to do my part as far as being like eco-friendly as possible. And that really, I think, opened up a lot of doors for us, but it was a niche market, at the time. Like stand-up paddling was so new. Why would people really care if it was eco or not? It was one of those things where it was like, that was the next step. And that's kind of where we are more today, where so many companies and even a lot of these boards made overseas in Asia are all leaning towards that. Like how can they incorporate bamboo or incorporate plant-based resins and really start to do, better for the, like with recycled plastic inserts or the recycled EVA mats like Starboard. They've led the innovation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so it's just been really inspiring to think, where it can go and where it's come from. And we've kind of had to invent some of it, but it's definitely been on our hearts and minds to do our best and to really think about what is the best. Let's make it up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being leaders there, because it's not easy. We do, and we have to admit, I mean, I use a race board, inflatables. There's a lot of stuff that isn't very sustainable in, surfing and stand-up paddleboarding. So good on you for like trying to go that direction as much as possible. And companies like Starboard who've made that commitment and are doing it. Can you see these comments? I'm not who, you probably know who that is, but somebody wants you to have a baby.
Love you, Jeff.
Jeff, yeah, thanks. Yeah, we'll get right to that.
Salvador.
But,
so that's somebody I assume.
Yeah.
It's a good friend. But,
that's cute.
Right? But just doing our part, doing the best we can. Food. Eat more vegetables. No matter what you eat, put some more fruit and vegetables in it, make it colorful. And the taste buds, they actually, they can change in as little as 2 to 3 days. So just piece by piece, keep putting those good things in there, and eventually your body will tell you what's better. It'll tell you what to do.
Yeah. I guess so, circling back to the wheat foil, and, wheat foil is definitely in our minds and understanding from what we choose and how we want to do this the best we can. We're definitely trying to do our part as far as eco-consciousness. And at this time, we don't currently have a sustainable surf rating on our boards. We've explored that avenue, and we've definitely had it on our hearts to consider that. But that's not the only avenue to be explored as far as eco-consciousness goes. And so when you look at the grand scale of things and like maybe the carbon imprint or impact, I guess, however you get that, the vast majority of everything in our product is sourced in the United States. So that in itself, like really not trying to go overseas, not sending a lot of, these are rather expensive things, machines that, we're not sending tens of thousands of dollars overseas. We're keeping it in the United States. We're sourcing our parts locally as much as we can. So for example, like our machined metal parts are machined here locally on the Big Island and made at 100% solar powered machine shop.
Cool.
maybe doesn't sound like all that great and that much, but it's those little things that add up over time. And it's just, a lot of it is, it's our intention to do those things, to carry forth in all of these choices. So as much as we can weigh it on a scale or be like, oh, well, if you consider this or that, the reality is we're trying, and we want to be a part of that in any way we can. And so it's always great to share and innovate with people and have maybe new ideas that can help us in that. But I think one thing that we're really proud to say is, like, we're trying to literally source everything we can in the United States, and doing it at the highest standard that it could be made. So it's really exciting to think, you know, where we're going to be soon with everything, but we're literally just getting started.
Yeah.
Well, I love hearing that, because you've gone so far, you've been in from the beginning, but I love that you still have that passion, that there's even more to come. And we look forward to watching Gofoil be very successful, and whatever's next be successful. Anything else about, boy, I mean, we could have branched off, like you know, I know you were you were the first to come up with SUP yoga courses. I love that you recognized right away that that larger board that could, oh, it has a deck pad on it, I can do this on there. I can do different things. So it's so cool, the different directions that you guys have gone. And we look forward to future innovations and maybe a junior. Sorry, I'm a wannabe grandma, so I have to do that too. My kids are in their 20s and 30s, and no grandkids yet, but I thought maybe that's who sent that message. It was one of your parents.
I have so many stories about paddleboard yoga, of like octopus hunting under the board, of turtles coming up and nestling their head right into your hand as it's resting in the water, and you don't even, it's so amazing. The fish, schools of them just jumping around the class. And so it's one thing to focus on like the present moment, you're not thinking about the past and the future, but it's a whole nother focusing on the inner when your present moment is so surrounded by beauty. So definitely recommend going out, trying some paddleboard yoga. We're definitely taking it to the next level with the electric hydrofoil yoga. We've experimented a little bit with that. Totally possible. You can sit, and then it becomes like, you know, like this Zen, like
you can lay on
go-kart, and or you could lay down, you could Superman with the remote control, right? And so you could absolutely do a sun salutation. And
oh my gosh, I love that. Videos to come. I'm going to be looking for these, or maybe they're out there already.
yeah, there'll be more. There'll be more coming.
And then just one other thing, touching back on for people who wanted to maybe get into foiling, and you know, we mentioned good thing. You know, secondly, before you even touch the water, like tighten your bolts. Like one of the worst things and kind of commonly seen is, you know, people have loose bolts on their wings, and that can create a platform or a real unstable platform for you. So it's really good to consider your hardware every time you go out, making sure your stuff's really tight and correctly adjusted. But also one thing that's really good for people to consider is the fact that, like, foiling is one of those things that you can have a lot of success right away, either by chance, if you're just lucky enough to get your feet in the right place and have your weight shifted right and all the stars align, and then it's pretty much causing. But the reality is, it's one of those things that's so beautiful when it's shared. Like, so for people who want to get into it, like, just maybe reach out to a foiling community. You know, there's a lot of companies, there's a lot of different people, enthusiasts on the internet, Foil the World, or like, there's all kinds of like companies and people that want to share this. It's so exciting right now, the explosion of foiling. So to reach somebody, to take a lesson, to really get, you know, an in-depth idea and understanding, because it's like you're reprogramming your whole understanding of what to do from a surfing perspective, kind of out the window. So it's one of those things, like, a lot of success can happen if you take the time to like learn about it a little bit first. And so I encourage people to do that, and then just be confident in yourself. You know, don't go out there with the, you know, the bent at the waist, that Waimea base stance. You get like super spread out and think, oh, hunch over, stay low. It's
Don't stink bug.
yeah,
right?
no stink.
Don't bug.
to hydrofoil surf, I would stand around on my front leg because I had 20 some years of standing on my back leg programmed in that those few seconds that I was hydrofoil surfing, I had to reprogram those muscles. And so it was easier. I'm just washing dishes or whatever I'm doing, stand on the front, and that helped to program that in.
Yeah.
So that'd be one of the tips for somebody who has experience surfing and wants to try the surf foil.
Oh my gosh, such great tips. I hope we're going to get a lot of people to watch these, I hope, because I think those were some essential ones. I do want to clarify one thing because somebody talked about wing being next, because wings can mean two things right now, because there's the wind wing, but you've been speaking about, of course, the foil wing that's underneath the board, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Entirely, yeah.
Which actually, another little interesting point is, well, Big Island, this is not windsurfing capital by any standards. And you can successfully learn how to wind wing very easily with an electric hydrofoil. So depending on your electric hydrofoil of choice, it's pretty easy. You can hold the remote in one hand and still grip the little handles on the wind wing.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible how fast you can actually safely like learn how to wind wing, because it's a little bit of a learning curve, but once you figure it out, I think electric hydrofoiling really enables and bridges the gap on the learning curve for learning how to wind wing. So I'm excited to share that more with people and have maybe some of that incorporated into some of our schools. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's just, there's so many possibilities with the electric hydrofoil and exploration, distance, and surfing huge waves. That's our biggest passion as surfers, and being on the tour back in the day and pushing the envelope with big surf. Our electric foil is geared exactly for that. So not only for something I can put my on and she can safely learn on, but also something I can take out into double overhead plus waves and get out there to where maybe nobody is. No idea. It's not going out to a super crowded spot, but going out to a spot where nobody would even surf and catching giant misto waves. That is pretty remarkable on electric foil.
Wow.
It's like the dirt
Again,
bike.
excited to see even more, and I need a few more pictures to post. Maybe you have a picture of the actual wing so people know what it looks like, what an e-foil actually looks like, the wing part. You do have one more kind of comment question. Snowboarding on groomers sounds like good cross training for foiling. This is Adam up in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, it's the end of the season for some people, not Hawaii, not Southern California, but they're looking at, different things that they're going to do in the winter.
Yeah.
How do you get ready?
Yeah, I would definitely say a lot of people have associated foiling with snowboarding. Snowboard, you're kicking out your back leg is helping you transition rail to rail. So in that same sense, foiling's kind of like that, and what I generally tell people is like the less, the easier it will be. As soon as you get out there and think, oh, like Kelly Slater, big turns, like it's hard. But if you're a sack of potatoes and you just sit there like this on the foil and you think like, hey, I want to go left, boom, you're going to go left. These things are super sensitive. So it's one of those things.
I love
where
that.
it's like,
sack of potatoes. People should be able to do that, even us hyper people. Relax. No stink bug. Don't overreact.
and then the reality is like the water, at least where we are with the ocean, it's always like kind of choppy, or there's currents and whatnot. So as soon as that foil wants to like turn or throw you to the side, just go with it. Because it's the only time like you're really gonna struggle is when you're like fighting it. You're like, go perfectly straight, and then you're trying to like maintain this perfect balance. And if anybody stands on one foot on their tippy toes, it's gonna be really hard unless you're just like really going with, you have to be okay with that uncertainty, and you have to be. It's like SUP, right? When you start learning SUP, I tell people, I'm like, it's like you're always falling. The whole time. Like as soon as you get on that board, you're like this, and you're just constantly in this state of like, I'm about to wipe out. But if you're okay with that and you relax, embrace it, and you're like, I love it. So just so like at the mercy of the water and the wind and the waves. That's when it gets easy. And that's what circles back to the beginning where we said, like, just be comfortable. Like if you're not comfortable how you are on whatever you're riding, it's probably going to be difficult. So forget everything you know and anything anybody else knows. Do your own thing and just get comfortable.
Okay. Well, we will start with that, end with the great advice you gave at the beginning and the end again. And wow, again, you do make it sound all easy. I love that you guys are making it easier for all of us to do these different things through the years and to use sustainable products. And thank you for all you've done, and keep it up, and send some more pictures and we'll get those posted, maybe a video. That one with Maddie and his daughter was just amazing. Again, they look so relaxed.
Yeah.
So cute.
That was like, yeah, the first time.
So
That was
fun.
actually the very first time they had actually rode together. I think about it, because Zane and Sage had rode years back, about 2.5 years ago. We had a Wefoil trip on Maui. But for Maddie to go with his daughter, I mean, even the excitement like he shared, and he's like, that is like so powerful, like lasting memories where it's just like the most incredible thing to see that bond between the father and the daughter. So
Yeah, so definitely go out and try it. Come see us or go to Maui. Yeah.
Love to do that. Need to get to Hawaii. So yeah, thank you again, both. Loved talking with you. I'll try to stay up on what you're doing, and if you have anything new, send it my way and we'll post it on that Facebook group. Thanks again.
right.
Mahalo, and enjoy, and keep sharing and your passion.
All right, thank you. Take it easy. Appreciate your time.
Take care.
A lot.